if we go back to ballet, you know, I looked like a woman. There was nothing I could do about it. And in a system that values androgyny and being wiry and very thin and athletic, I was not an athlete. I was a female who could dance. I wasn't an athlete who was a dancer. I was a human being, female, who liked to move. And so that certainly didn't fit the New York City Ballet idea of a body. And I had to somehow make some kind of peace with that. And I had a terrible time with it because, of course, the messaging before it was not, you know, before PC came in and people could tell you whatever they thought about you and your body and the way you are, hit with all sorts of had to like go home with and think about and consider. And I spent a lot of time quite dark and, you know, putting turtlenecks on from here to my hips because frankly, I had a body.
Well, an extraordinary body. You're just
but
one of our most
we were getting
beautiful, beautiful women who dance.
But we got mixed messages, and there was a lot of self-deprecation and hate because of it. And sometimes the voice of reason would enter in from a really, really dear friend. I mean, one of our really, really good friends. I remember being rail thin. I think I had asparagus and grapefruit juice for about 3 months, and I thought I was gorgeous. I was just like mean, and it was like the first time in my life that I looked at that. And it just was amazing. And I kind of was telling myself how fabulous it was. And then somebody said, "Where are you? I don't even see you anymore. The aura's gone." And it was a friend of ours, a common friend of ours. And I was aghast. I was absolutely like, "What do you mean?" Because the messaging was completely the opposite. I was actually told how fabulous I looked. And because I did believe it, but I didn't know that whatever that layer that I needed, that communicated a kind of not cushiony, not fat, but just a layer, just a very, very small layer, was precisely that gave a little bit more resonance to the physiology and I guess the psychic energy of the whole thing, of the organism. And maybe because think of this, and I haven't even thought of it till now, the languaging that I was believing and the languaging I was telling myself, which was basically diminishing who I actually am to who I was supposed to be, was dominant. Yeah. So if that was dominant, that was actually a loss to wholeness.
Yeah.
So that's analytical, but that could be, that's an important part of the conversation. Is like, who are we doing this for, and what are you believing?
Steph, I remember being when you were with Robert Denver, at his studio as a young student, and you were there was nobody like you. There just wasn't any. You were just a creature, just this phenomenal, gorgeous creature that I was just in awe of. And the thing is that you were also into the work. It's not like you didn't have that inquiry and that desire. You were always taking class. You were always exploring. You were always working. So it's almost like the lack of information in your body that you had to play catch up on was part of your desire to
It was a huge part of it. It was a huge part of it. And I have two things I want to note on that. It definitely drove the feeling of not being equal to the task, drove my seeking.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that I hadn't the indoctrination or hadn't been embedded with what is considered politically correct. I just couldn't buy that we were the only thing on the planet. So I had to find out whatever else was going on. And that was a lot. And then I was pulled off course in a way because I was interested in so many other things and other ways of moving and discovering things that I couldn't play. I couldn't play it, and I couldn't pretend that it was the only thing that was going. You know, because we were a very, very, we had a very, very closed sphere in which we were supposed to believe that that was it.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember, and this is a wonderful story, when Guylaine Tesmar came to dance with the company, Balanchine liked her a lot, and he rarely allowed guests, but she came to the company. And then when one year, many, many years later, like 30 years later, when I was in Paris and I went to have dinner with her, and she said, you know what it was like going into that studio? It was like a harem. It was, she said, I'd never seen it in my entire professional career. And she was Paris Opera Étoile and a ballet mistress. And she said, I'd never seen like everybody there wanting to please this one person and smelling good and dressing for it. And it was entirely focused in that direction. And it was like, we were supposed to never want to step out of that. In fact, we got punished for it if we did. There were very few people who did, because they really believed that that was the only thing there is.
Yeah.
And I actually even had that conversation with Mimi Paul just a few years ago, because her father was a doctor and she spoke a few languages, and she was one of the only people in her generation in the company that didn't put Balanchine on a pedestal, because she grew up around very sophisticated, multilingual, very accomplished professionals where basically the world was wide. And she didn't need a substitute father. And we had a culture where many, many people, and even mothers, would push their daughters in the direction of Balanchine because, yes, he was a conduit to God, let's say it. His art, not necessarily as a human being, but the art, as many artists and exceptional artists like Picasso, like Stravinsky, like Balanchine, were literally kind of this wonderful funnel to the cosmos. Now, of course, that doesn't make the human or the human manifestation that, but yes, we were definitely in contact with that level, that those ethers of art, no doubt. But for the rest of it, there was just way too much going on, especially when I was becoming an adult in New York in the 70s and 80s, was nerve-rich. I mean, it was just endless in terms of where you could go, where you could learn, what you could be exposed to. And then I started traveling as well and seeing other things. And I just knew that that was one sphere, and there were so many spheres, and they were all too interesting. So speaking to that, yes, it was a very rarefied atmosphere. And a lot of people felt that that rarefied atmosphere was enough. And to me, that was just one rarefied atmosphere, and there were too many to be explored. And that's what I teach, basically. It's like, and I also explain that I can't possibly be the whole kit. And it's not, also, it's really funny, but if I get private students, I'm like, this is a really bad business model, but if your child learns from me, you probably won't need me much longer. Because it'll be their experience, and it'll be their growth and their path. It's not mine. It's like, whatever you can take it. It's not mine. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So what you want to generate is the ignition or the flame. You want to generate the flame and the ignition and the getting out of your own wayness of it.
Yeah. And create a safe environment for them to
completely safe.
This is going to speak to so many people, because you're really talking about just this holistic view of a person. And there's so beautiful when somebody's heart wants to dance, but they're being beaten down by the technical and all of this stuff. And, you know, Zippora and I can attest to you as a true artist. And I just keep thinking how grateful I am that Mr. Balanchine gave you this opportunity. And, you know, these days everybody is so judged, and it's so hard to get into, you know, all of these different programs and schools and everything. And it's just with gratitude that, you know, you were able to express and become this amazing artist. And now you are such an inspiration, you know, continue even more so to be. And so I would love to know, for all of the dancers and families that this is speaking to right now, are you doing online classes that people can?
I am, and yes, I do offer classes. If you're that person that can hear this, if there's a receptivity or an ability to hear, or even the beginning of the ability to hear, like you're hearing some of it, but you can't hear all of it, and you think I'm a little bit off, but you can kind of tell, and you're a little bit curious, then it's okay. Then you can come to me. I'm not saying you can't, but it's like you'll be wasting your time. I would love to have new people who are ready and willing, and I do my best, which I always do. And because it's a pleasure. It's really a vocation. It's not work. It's a vocation.
Yeah. Well, and it's such an honor. What an honor.
And it's an honor.
Help bring and pull so much more out. And I know that for me as a dancer, you're hungry for that. You're hungry for somebody to give you that freedom, you know, that itself even. And now, as Zippora was saying, now that dancers can't get on stage, you know, and have this outlet for expression, how beautiful to have this approach now going into, you don't need to be on stage. We don't need that. We're so blessed and lucky to be working, you know, even when it's in our living room, in our kitchen, because
it's phenomenal.
In our exploration.
And, you know, and don't forget, of course, any kind of movement is going to change the chemistry in your body, and it's going to inform your nervous system, and it's going to sometimes take that baggage out of your brain. Or like I say, you know, your backpack is full of rocks and you get to throw some off, you know, and that's this, and I know it firsthand, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's true freedom.
And that's all of us. Yeah. It's all of us.
Yeah. Well, let's wind up for today. But
Thank you.
There's so many more conversations in here, and you brought so much, and just so incredibly inspiring as always. I'm so grateful to you.
Romy, thank you.
Just amazing.
It's great to see you again.
Well, Steffi, you really are. You are such a gem, and you offer information that I don't think anybody, you know, is offering in quite the same way that you are. And so you are just so unique, and we're so grateful.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Have a great day, and thanks for being here. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you.